this organization really believes Jonathan India is going to bounce back, that he's going to cement himself back as the everyday second baseman with no questions asked and play really well. And it's the reason why they gave him the contract that they did. That one, they gave him the $8 million and they didn't non-tender him when they probably could have, and just giving up on the trade. The fact that they didn't do that tells me they really think he's going to be the everyday second baseman, hit sixth, seventh in the lineup, and provide some on-base ability, some ability to drive runners in, and be closer to the player that they traded for. One Royal Way back at it here on Kansas City Sports Network. I'm Joel Penfield. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, rate, subscribe, review on all platforms. Hit those notification bells, when these episodes go up, because we're back for good now. This is going to be at least once a week now until the end of spring training. And once spring training hits, you're going to see at least 4 episodes a week, sometimes more. We got some new content coming down the pipe a little bit. Once that gets announced, you'll definitely see it. So be on the lookout for what's coming here on the baseball side here at KC Sports Network. I'm really excited. This is going to be a really fun season. This is my 5th here at KCSN, and I couldn't be more grateful for it. And this is going to be a lot of fun. We got a lot of fun stuff planned for this year. Before we get rolling with this episode, as always, brought to you by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our partners in Possible, here at Kansas City Sports Network. And do want to give a shout out as well to Kansas City Strength and Conditioning. If you're a baseball or softball player in the area looking for a place to train, that would be the place to do it in the area. Be sure to go check out KCSC. Even though they're not an official sponsor on this show, they helped get the ball rolling, so to speak, with this show. We always want to give them a shout out for their support, helping get this thing off the ground to what it is now. We're closing in on 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube. I think we're at 965 now. Please go subscribe over there. If you haven't already, tell a friend to do it. I really want to try and get to 1,000 before opening day. That would be really awesome. All of that stuff out of the way now. Pitchers and catchers have reported to spring training. First official workout on Wednesday as you guys are listening to this show. So baseball's getting into full swing now. And a lot of these guys are already down there, especially the guys participating in the World Baseball Classic. They're going to be in spring training with the team for a couple of weeks, and then they're off to their respective countries that they're representing. And they'll be playing high-level baseball early in spring. As spring training is going on, that's what those guys are going to be doing, which I think can be really beneficial to a lot of guys that are on this team. And I think there's a benefit to a lot of the starters and guys that are in key positions for the Royals not being there, because it allows non-roster invitees and minor league guys to get a ton of time in big league camp and show what they have, what they're capable of. And we'll talk about some of those guys here in a little bit. I want to focus on the WBC. If you don't know, these are all the guys that are participating for the Kansas City Royals and the countries that they're representing. Jorge Alfaro, who signed a minor league deal with the Royals. He's representing Colombia. Jack Caglione, Team Italy. Eric Sarantola, reliever, was in AAA last year. He's with Team Canada. Carlos Estevez is going to be closing out games for the Dominican Republic. Michael Garcia is going to be with Venezuela. Omar Hernandez, minor league catcher with Team Cuba. Seth Lugo representing Team Puerto Rico. Eli Morgan, who signed a minor league contract with the Royals, a relief pitcher, will be with Team Israel. Vinny Pasquantino, Team Italy. Salvador Perez will be captaining the Venezuela national team. Oscar Rayo, who's a minor league pitcher, will be with Nicaragua. Abraham Toro signed a minor league deal with the Royals, Team Canada. And then Michael Wacha and Bobby Witt Jr., the 2 participants for the United States. Obviously, Bobby headlining the team this year. Wacha was a late addition. He's listed in the bullpen. I'll be curious what his usage looks like. The Team USA is stacked. It's going to be a really fun tournament to watch. It was awesome a few years ago, and I think it's going to be even better this year. Bryce Harper involved, Paul Skeens, Aaron Judge. That group is going to be a lot of fun, and the Dominican team is stacked. Like, it's going to be in Team Japan, obviously the reigning champs. So going to be a lot of fun to watch, and I'm excited to see all those guys succeed and to see all those guys get opportunities to play some really competitive high-level baseball early on before the season even starts. It helps them possibly, especially in the case of guys that are going to be starting, getting significant run, help them get up to speed a little bit more when it comes to the time the season starts, right? Like there's only so much you can take away from some spring training baseball, but these guys playing, I mean, you're playing and you're representing an entire country, right? In the case of, guys like Michael and Carlos and Salvador Perez, like they're representing their home country, right? Like, and Michael and Bobby, all these guys, like it's really cool. And Vinny and Jack with representing their family's heritage and trying to build a baseball culture in Italy. Vinny talked about that. It's going to be really, really cool. And to see these guys, representing the Royals and a lot of these guys representing the Royals starting in these games is going to be really fun. And I'm excited for the whole event. It's awesome every year, and I think it's continued to grow, and that's great as baseball continues to grow. All right, so spring training now here, and now with games starting, and we're gonna start seeing guys, participating and start to see some live stuff going, and we want to keep up with the stats and how these guys are doing and all that. This is where I kind of do. I did it a little bit last year. I'm just going to kind of rehash some of my opinions on spring training baseball and how we should view it, and a lot of the nuance that comes with it, because it is not just cut and dry. The starters who go out there and play 9 innings, and the starters are all going to be out there throwing 5-6 innings. We're watching early season games, like especially early, couple at bats, an inning or two here and there, and they're just going to be rotating guys in and out. There's a reason why there's 90 some odd guys in big league camp to start, because there's so many minor league dudes that they throw in there on a regular basis. It may not be 80 or 90, but it certainly feels that way. Eventually those guys will get cycled out, but it's an opportunity to get to learn for the big league players in a lot of cases. For these guys that are in the minors, the low minors, or guys that are in AAA, AA, trying to prove themselves. A lot of guys that are non-roster invitees that sign a minor league deal as a chance. It's almost like a tryout for all, like not just for the Royals, but for other teams as well. Say, the guy doesn't want to accept a minor league assignment, like an Abraham Toro, for instance, or Josh Rojas, or who was the other guy? Jorge Alfaro. Say it doesn't work out in Kansas City. If they put together a good spring, then they have an opportunity to put themselves out there for the rest of Major League Baseball to show, hey, this guy can play. This guy might be able to help us. And if that's the case, then, it just helps further their career. When it comes to stats and when it comes to results and things like that, I don't worry about it too much, right? Especially the established guys. Like Bobby hits a $180 in spring training. I'm not going to worry about it because I know what the guy can do at the big league level, right? If Salvador Perez strikes out 30%, like, okay, like I'm if Cole Reagans goes out and gets blown up in his first couple outings, I'm not going to worry about it. Like there's a certain point, especially early, where these guys are just kind of getting back into it, especially the hitters. There's only so many live ABs that you can do. You can't replicate live in a game, in a stadium, all that stuff. Like it's a much more controlled environment doing live ABs. It takes a little bit for guys to kind of get their rhythm, get their timing down. There's a reason why they have spring training. And it accelerates a little bit for the guys going to the WBC, because then it really gets going. So all I'm going to say, like what I guess the overarching point I'm getting at here is take what we see, what we hear, the stats we're able to filter through and all that with a grain of salt. Because it is a very small sample in a large sample sport, right? Like it's going to be 30, 40 plate appearances for some guys, maybe at most 50. Like that's such a small sample. That's, gosh, what, 15 games thereabout, 13, 14 games. Like that's even a small sample in the beginning of a season, right? And over the course of the season, when you look at it incrementally. So don't have large overreactions to, say, Cole Reagans is out there in his first outing and he's throwing 93. Like he's probably he's ramping up, right? If Matt Strom goes out there and gives up 4 earned at his first outing, he probably was just working on a breaking ball, working on our arm slots. Go listen to the interview. He talks about that. Like these guys work on things, and especially the guys that are established, treat them as almost like glorified practices in a way, where it's an opportunity for them to work on something, especially the pitchers. They really want to work on throwing their changeup when they're ahead 0-1. So they're going to throw it every time. They're going to get ahead with the fastball and throw the changeup. Get ahead, and so guy, it's easy to sit on. Or I'm just going to throw fastball slider up there today. Guys do that. Like those are certain. There are certain things that guys always want to work on. Hitters are working on stuff. Like I remember Miguel Vargas, who was now with the White Sox. He was with the Dodgers at the time, and he spent the first like 3 weeks of spring training. He didn't swing. Like he was just wild. Like he was recovering from shoulder surgery, and he was just watching pitches, and he was taking and just seeing that. And he had a pretty good walk rate that year. Like he was able to take what he learned there and then put it into practice in season when he was eligible to like fully swing once he got fully cleared. So things like that happen throughout the spring. And so, yes, it's great to watch baseball. Don't look at results one way or the other. Like obviously if a guy is having a good spring, we'll talk about it. But again, we talk about it in the context of who are they playing? How often is he playing? What's the sample? What's this going to look like? And another thing to watch, especially with the minor league guys and the non-roster invite guys that usually play later in the game, pay attention to who else is on the field with them. Like, it would be awesome if Carson Roccaforte has a great spring. But if he's on the field when it's predominantly AA guys on the other team, which Baseball Reference has an opponent quality score that you can kind of track in spring training, which shows, hey, this guy, sure, he's hitting 320 with an 850 OPS, and that's awesome, but he's mostly playing against AA guys. That's just where you look at it in context. Like, yes, he's having a great spring. It's something to monitor. It's something to watch out for as we get into the regular season, but he's still facing level competition to what he is used to. If he was doing it against predominantly big league competition, then it's something to watch out for. It's something to really throw out, hey, maybe Rockford can help us this year. And we'll talk about those things. Good start to me, just rambling. It's a lot, but I'm glad to be talking about baseball again. On the other side of this break we're about to take, I'm going to talk about the early storylines that I'm going to be looking for over the next week or so. Obviously, spring training games have not started yet. That won't be until the end of next week, but just as we lead into spring training beginning, these are the things that I'm going to be looking for. We'll talk about that right on the other side of this break.
Looking for tickets for your next event? Tickets for Less is your #1 source. Save big on every purchase when you use promo code KCSN at ticketsforless.com.
Success in real estate takes more than vision. It takes the right financial partner. When someone takes something rundown and turns it into something great, that's called a comeback story, like Brain Group. They take distressed properties here in KC, completely rework them, and then turn them into valuable real estate. But that kind of work needs the right bank behind it. Enter Emprise Bank. They're not about cookie-cutter loans. They saw Brain Group's vision, backed them, and now they're making big moves in Kansas City real estate. Talk about your partner in possible. Emprise doesn't do one-size-fits-all financing. They invest in potential and back growth. Visit emprisebank.com/KC to learn more. Emprise Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe button, everybody. I do appreciate it. And audio listeners as well, be sure to leave a 5-star review if you have not already. Those are still very much appreciated. I don't think we've had a 5-star review in a while. So please do so. And then if you send one out, be sure to let me know and I'll read it on the channel. I know Tucker and does that over on That Football Show. So I'll do something like that if something like that pops up. All right, so with spring training now here, as I mentioned on the other side of the break, games won't start till next Friday, and you'll be able to watch those games and listen. The Royals put out a schedule today. About half the games, maybe a little less, are available on Royals.com to watch. You don't need to buy MLB TV. Talk a little more about that towards the end of the show. You don't need that as long as you have an MLB account. Like for the newsletter, you sign up, things like that. You can watch the games for free. Even if the Royals games are like a Royals game is not available on TV, sometimes the opposite broadcast will be. So always check for that because they say they play the Brewers at the Brewers facility. Sure, you may not be able to watch the Royals broadcast, but you can watch the Brewers and still watch the game on video. So that would be something to watch out for as well. Just something to consider. I found that out last year. Like, just kind of look around. There's all sorts of broadcasts, and spring training broadcasts are great because they're super casual, and everyone's just kind of laid back, having a good time, just watching ball. Especially toward the end when it's a lot of the minor league guys, like Ryan and Rex kind of go back and forth, and it's just a good time. So kind of be on the lookout for that. But as we're getting into these games and as spring training started, over the last couple of weeks, as I've started thinking about, episodes and what I want to talk about and what I'm looking forward to this season, I've come to a couple of things that I'm going to be looking at the most over the course of spring training. It's probably topics that we'll be coming back to throughout the spring as we're kind of in the lead up to the regular season, as we've seen some innings pitched, some at bats, things of that nature. The first thing I'm really going to be looking for early on is the second and potentially third left-hand relief spot for the Royals. I have no qualms about Matt Strahm. Like, I think he's going to be really good. If you pay attention to the top 10 right now that MLB Network does, the Shredder, MLB Network, whatever algorithm power ranking that they do, had Matt Strahm as the seventh best reliever in baseball. That takes 3 years into account. So, I mean, that's good to see. I think the Shredder is a bit of a joke, but it confirms my priors in that space. So therefore, useful tool. I think he's going to be really good. And I think that was a great move by JJ to get that. And I understand going to get Isaac Collins, it feels like it helps your offense. But trading away Angel Serpa could be something to monitor this year. I understand, he's not John Franco, he's not Josh Hader, he's not some elite level left-hand reliever, but he was a league average-ish left-hand reliever. And that's fine. And if you had him as your second reliever, I feel really good about the bullpen. But the potential left-hand relief arms behind Matt Strahm are Daniel Lynch IV and Bailey Falter. And some of like the basic surface numbers for Daniel Lynch, okay, like you look and see he had a 3.06 ERA, like that's great, but the expected ERA is 4.55, and I want to say the FIP is above 4 as well. So when you see that big of a discrepancy between the ERA that shows up on the back of the baseball card and the expected numbers based on the batted ball data, when you got that big of when the delta, there's a significant delta there, it's going to regress towards the expected numbers, right? And we talked about that with Seth Lugo last year. Like, he pitched better than the expecteds, and then eventually the expected numbers caught up to him. Expected batting average was 253. Daniel Lynch does not strike out batters, and he walks too many guys to not counteract. Like, if he had a huge strikeout number and a huge walk number, I'd live with it because of the strikeout and potentially the swing and miss that goes with it. But he doesn't give up a lot of chase, and he doesn't give up a lot of whiffs. He gets a decent ground ball rate, but the hard hit rate is 42.5%, and he gets barreled up a fair amount too. Like, so he doesn't get a lot of strikeouts, walks too many guys, gives up a lot of hard contact, and he doesn't get a lot of swing and miss. Like, it's just a recipe for playing with fire. Like, you're relying on the BABIP gods to be in your favor over the course of 162 games. That's just not tenable. Especially being a reliever, you need more swing and miss strikeout out of those guys, generally speaking. If those are the two guys that you have to rely on to get outs beyond Matt Strahm from the left side, a guy with a major regression candidate and a dude that's out of options that I don't know if he's a reliever, I don't know what he is, or I don't even know if he's going to make the team. That could really throw the bullpen into balance. And I like the righties that the Royals are able to deploy. It's not that I think this completely makes the bullpen crap. It's not that. I really like Carlson Estevez was good last year. Maybe a little bit of regression coming, but I think he's still good enough. I think he's a good enough pitcher and not just a thrower to make it work. Lucas Ursig, as long as he's healthy, I feel confident he's going to stick around and be good. Steven Cruz proved to be a solid option last year. John Schreiber in a different, in a not as high leverage role was fairly solid for stretches of last season. If they decide to go with Luinder Avila, I like that. Nick Mears has a track record of strikeouts and whiff. Alex Lang, when he's healthy, same. So they have a bunch of right-handers that they can deploy. but I don't think they're going to be able to do with Matt Strom like what the Mariners did with Gabe Spire. Basically, make him he's the only lefty in the bullpen, and we're going to use him almost every dang day. Like that's what the Mariners did because they had a second reliever, a lefty, in Caleb Ferguson, who was a gas can. Like that trade that they made for him did not work, and so they just had to rely heavily on Gabe Spire. And by the time it got to the 4th, 5th game of the Tigers series and the 5th, 6th, 7th game of the series against the Blue Jays, and they were using Gabe Spire every day, every team got a look at him, and they were teeing off on him by the end of the series. It's just something to look out for as you get down the line. It's not to say they can't resolve it, that they can't fix it, but just as presently constituted still is something I'm looking at. And I think there are still some free agents sitting out there that you might be able to go get on the cheap from the left side. Let me go and see who's still available as I'm talking about it. I'm looking it up. Did I look it up before we hit record? I absolutely did not, but you guys should come to expect this by now. Still Andrew Chafin showing, according to Spot Track, he's still available. Danny Coulom's still available. Jalen Beeks still available. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like all of these guys are incredible, and they'll be, Joey Lucchesi, another name that's available there. Not going to act like those guys are awesome. Not going to act like it's a massive upgrade over Daniel Lynch or Bailey Falter, but it's a much more established big league pitcher with a better track record of getting outs. It could just be something to consider as we get into spring. Another thing I'm really watching for is the non-roster invites, because one of the benefits, as I talked about earlier, for a lot of these guys, that Salvador Perez, not there. Michael Garcia, not there. Bobby Wood Jr., not there. Vinny Pasquantino, not there. Carlos Estevez, not there. Jack Caglione, Seth Lugo, Michael Wacha. There are a lot of spots in big league camp for non-roster invite types and minor league contract types to make an impact. They're going to get some extra innings to throw. In the case of the pitchers, they're going to get a few extra at-bats with the big leaguers and probably start some of these games and get in when the big leaguers are in to show what they can do. Hector Neris, Aaron Sanchez, Jose Cuas, welcome back. Those are a couple of the pitchers that are going to have an opportunity. Not necessarily any of the catchers, like Jorge Alfaro was the one that I kind of watched, but Luke Maile is going to be back in big league camp. So maybe there's the third catcher option. I know that he was well liked in that clubhouse. He was fun to talk to. And there's a third catcher, like that's essentially what he would be, because Carter Jensen's around now. Brandon Drury will obviously get some opportunities at third base and at short. It's a camp body thing. Josh Rojas, Abraham Toro, Kevin Newman, a guy that signed a minor league deal. All those guys can play the infield and play the left side of it. So they're going to get a lot of run with Bobby and Michael once they head out. Gavin Cross and Carson Rockford are going to have an opportunity in the outfield. I don't think either guy is going to make enough of an impact that they're going to push for the big league roster, but maybe just show like, hey, we're more ready than you think. And I think Rockford is more that guy than Gavin Cross at this point. If Carson Rockford is able to build on what he did in AA and what he did in the fall league, then he's going to be a name we're going to be looking at maybe later in the season, potentially. But I don't know. We'll see. I've thought that before, and then he's fallen on his face. So frankly, I have no idea. From the perspective of guys that are more established, I'm really fascinated to watch Carter Jensen. He's going to get a lot of opportunity to catch, with the big league regulars, because once Salvador Perez is gone, he's the other guy on the big league roster that's a starter, that's a catcher. If his defense is improved, which by all accounts it's something that he's worked hard on. It was not grading out super well in the low minors, and as he's moved up, the receiving has gotten better, the blocking has gotten better, ability to throw down, like it's improved across the board. He's probably league average-ish, maybe a little bit below, just because he's still kind of working on it. But if he's able to be that guy, then, and he proves his defense is improved enough, he can be a catcher that goes out there 3, 4 days a week sometimes, it's really going to help the Royals save Salvador Perez from himself. And I love that they brought Salvi back on a 2-year deal. He is the Royals, right? Like, he's the captain. He's, been a lifelong guy. Number 13 is going to go up on the top of the Hall of Fame in a few years. But at this point as well, the guy can't be catching more than a couple days a week. He's 35, 36, already has caught a ton early in his career, and is still catching a lot now. A lot of that was because, Freddie Fermin probably wasn't close to an everyday guy. They didn't have a waiting in the wings everyday catcher type. They'd have one now with Carter Jensen, potentially. And if the defense shows up the way that we think it should, then, Salvi can go stretches of a couple of weeks without maybe needing to catch, and he can just first base and DH it. He and Vinny can platoon back and forth, first base DH. And then Salvi can catch every once in a while, especially if Cole Reagans loves throwing to Sal. Like, he can do that. That's great. Like, he catches once through the rotation, once, maybe twice, and then Jensen's back out there. And that's what Jensen's able to do. So not necessarily the bat, because I feel pretty confident that Carter's going to be able to hit. I'm really going to be watching for his defense in the games where we are able to watch. How is he presenting the strike zone? How is he, is he blocking? How does his defense look? How does his command of the game look? Those are the types of things that you have to learn. And for a guy like him, being 22, 23 years old, there's a lot to learn there, but he's going to have a significant opportunity with Salvi out of the picture there for a couple of weeks when he's with Team Venezuela. It's a unique year because of the WBC. This wouldn't necessarily be the case if there wasn't. Who knows how much, Carter would probably still catch a fair amount, but it wouldn't be the lion's share of it early in spring training because Salvi would be around. And it really changes my viewpoint of the year is if Carter is able to show I can take the reins of being the everyday guy and allow Salvi to keep his legs fresh into July and August. And hey, man, just go out there and mash homers, baby. Like, that's what we need from you right now. And yeah, it may affect Carter's offense a little bit, but if his defense is solid, he's still going to be an incredibly valuable contributor for this team. The bench spots are going to be pretty intriguing. There's a lot of guys. Obviously, I mentioned the non-roster invite guys. But Michael Massey, Nick Lofton, John Rave, Tyler Tolbert, Cameron Meisner, those guys are going to be battling for a couple of spots. Because, maybe you throw Daron Blanco in there. You could throw, like I said, Abraham Toro. You talk Kevin Newman, Josh Rojas. There are going to be a lot of guys. There are going to be 7 or 8 guys competing for 4 spots. And Lane Thomas, theoretically, is going to be one of those that is going to be used because I'd imagine with a right-handed starter on the mound, Jack's going to be playing right field, and Lane is on the bench. Drew Waters, you could throw in that conversation as well. So there's a lot, and the Royals love positional versatility. So you already have one outfielder there. You essentially have an outfielder and a first baseman and Jack. Carter is going to be DHing, catching in the lineup most days. I imagine there are very rare circumstances where he's on the bench. So is John Rave going to be able to break out and be a guy that they can trust throughout a big league season? Last year really didn't show that was the case. Can Nick Lofton? Really hasn't done much the last 2 seasons. Hardly at all. Tyler Tolbert, I have a feeling he's probably going to be on the roster because of his speed. They love his pinch running ability. They love his ability to steal bases. And he can play center field in the pinch. But they also have Lane Thomas do that now. So is he going to be a super utility, but mostly a pinch runner? Then okay. So that's 3. Then you still have some combination of Cameron Meisner, Daron Blanco, Drew Waters trying to compete for a place as well. Michael Massey, what does that look like between him and Jonathan India? Because it sounds like Massey's going to have a chance, but he's going to have to earn a spot. It's not guaranteed like the last couple of years due to, you know, lack of effectiveness and injury. Just he's been an injury risk for most of his career. It's been the story of it. I've always been a guy. I've always liked Michael, but if you can't stay healthy, the best ability is availability. You have to be able to stay on the field. And if you can't do that, then I don't know what value there is there. And I don't think he's a good enough outfielder to make it work. Maybe it's a platoon situation in some capacity with Jonathan India, but I think this organization really believes Jonathan India is going to bounce back, that he's going to cement himself back as the everyday second baseman with no questions asked and play really well. And it's the reason why they gave him the contract that they did. They gave him the $8 million and they didn't non-tender him when they probably could have, and just given up on the trade. The fact that they didn't do that tells me they really think he's going to be the everyday second baseman, hit 6th, 7th in the lineup, and provide some on-base ability, some ability to drive runners in, and be closer to the player that they traded for, and not the guy that was incredibly disappointing last year. And I know he knows that. He talked about that. Also, Jonathan India cut his hair. I didn't know that until I got to Royals Rally. Very, very startling. As a follically challenged guy myself, I would never cut my hair if my hair looked like Jonathan India's, but hey, I'm not him. Who knows? So I think those are that kind of wraps up that. I think that those are some of the things early on with no games to go off of, the position, not necessarily position battles, but just the storylines that I'm going to be watching. I left a lot of the main guys out because we're going to see them for a week and then they're going to go to the WBC. So we're not going to have a ton of time to look at what does Jack look like. We'll have to watch Team Italy. I don't know. We may get a couple of games, but not much. Couple more things, we'll get out of here. So the MLB TV. So the Royals are no longer on Bally / FanDuel, whatever. They're no longer doing that. They're not on a regional sports network. Major League Baseball is taking over the streaming and production rights for the Royals. It's on Royals TV. So there's an article on MLB.com. A complete guide to watching MLB.TV in 2026. I'm going to throw a lot of information at you here just as quickly as I can. Just some of how much it costs, how you can do it, all these sorts of things. So there are, and there's a bunch of teams that have this, and there's like, I think half the league MLB is taking over the production for. Is so if you wanted to buy Royals TV, it's $100 for the whole season. So less than $1 a game, and you get all 162 games on the MLB app. So you don't have to go through the FanDuel app. You don't have to go through anything else. It's right there. You can bundle a club's local streaming service with MLB Out of Market, and giving them access to the entire league's local games for $200 a season. There is a new media rights deal with ESPN. They partnered with MLB to do this. So the MLB service is available on the ESPN app, but you don't need the ESPN app or to purchase MLB, like the ESPN subscription, in order to watch this on MLB TV. So if you have MLB TV already, which I do, I buy the whole league every year. You'll already be renewed automatically through the MLB TV account. You continue to access the streaming content on the app or utilize MLB.TV the same way. Existing ESPN Unlimited subscription. So if you don't have MLB, but you have the ESPN Unlimited or whatever the new just MLB or ESPN app, MLB TV is an add-on feature. And these fans, it looks like it says, these sports fans will have the opportunity to purchase an MLB subscription for $135 for the whole season. So again, it's still, I know that it's pricey. Things are expensive now, but it's less than $1 a game if you're a diehard fan to watch all of these games. And it gives you the ability to watch not just the Royals, but other teams in the leagues. Like in my case, I watch the East Coast games until the Royals game starts. And then once the Royals game is done, I'm watching the West Coast games until I fall asleep. That's how I operate. And you can stream on either MLB TV or ESPN. I hope that all made sense, but essentially ESPN and MLB partnered with this. If you want to just watch the Royals, it's $100, or you can buy the full, MLB package. I believe it's $135. Now, I am still trying to figure out if you buy the whole league package, will it still include the local team? I believe, to my knowledge, it does, but I have not seen that confirmed anywhere. I don't know if it's a separate deal. I'm going to be getting it either way, so I will keep you guys informed as I'm figure this out as well. One more thing before we go here, and again, thank you guys so much. We'll have weekly content here through spring training. Hopefully, should have maybe a couple episodes a week coming here soon. Some additional episodes, in addition to just the base podcast as we talk about all this. But before we do get out of here, we all, Royals fans, we got some sad news over the weekend. Terrance Gore, who was a member of the 2015 World Series team, the 2014 World Series champion team, and the 2014 World Series team, died tragically and unexpectedly over the weekend. He's only 34 years old. Obviously, just gutting, just incredibly saddening news. And I'm not, it's difficult to talk about, not because, like, obviously talking about death is kind of a weird circumstance, but it's like, I don't know the person, so I'm not trying to, like, eulogize them. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I was friends with Terrance Gore. I even talked to him, right? Like, I never got the opportunity. But as a fan of the sport and as a fan of this team, like, we all kind of attach ourselves to these players, especially ones that were on championship teams. Like, we all probably could sit around and name everybody that was on those 2014 and 15 teams because those runs were so meaningful to the city and to this team. And Terrance Gore was a major part of that at the end of 2014, at the end of 2015. Being a pinch runner and stealing bases and helping this team score and get, like, he was a major part of the wild card game in 2014 and stealing bases, and it was a huge part of the World Series run. It was a huge part of the World Series run in 15 as well, and got a ring because of it, and got 2 more for carving out a role, right? I still remember watching a broadcast in 2014, like end of August. It's getting, and at that time the roster's expanded to 40. It was still when the entire 40-man roster comes up, and I still remember Ryan Lefebvre talking about, and I believe Gerard Dyson was at bat. And he said, hey, when rosters expand here in a little while, be ready to watch a kid named Terrance Gore, who might come up here and be a factor in the run game. He sounds like he's faster than Gerard Dyson. And we all know how fast Gerard Dyson was. And it was like, whoa, okay. And sure enough, this guy comes in and everyone knows he's going to steal. And he still stole second. And then he stole third. And then he scored. It was just electric, right? And it was such an embodiment of the way that those 14, 15 teams play baseball, with speed and just an electricity that you just don't see a lot of times. I think Terrance Gore is a great lesson from a baseball perspective and I guess you can attribute it to life as well, in knowing your role and doing whatever you can to excel at it. Terrance Gore did not get a lot of plate appearances in the big leagues. Like maybe the wildest stat of all time, he got 85 plate appearances in his big league career over 8 years and 112 total games. He stole 43 bases, and he stole another 11 in the playoffs, or I think it was another 15 in the playoffs. He had a role, which was he was going to run. And when he came in the game, everyone knew he was going to run. And it didn't matter because he still stole the bag. Right? Like he stole 43 regular season bases, only got caught 9 times. It's pretty amazing. And in those 14 to 15 years, 8 regular season stolen bases and didn't get caught a single time. And when you go to the playoffs in those years, 14, and So he stole 4 bases in that playoff run and only got caught one time. It's pretty amazing. 3 World Series rings and a single RBI in his entire baseball career in Major League Baseball. One of the more that's going to be a trivia, down the line of, who's the guy that had more World Series rings than career runs batted in? Terrance Gore. Another part of this is hug your loved ones, tell them you love them, because life is unfortunately fleeting. And I don't mean to sound morbid there, but this guy was 34 years old, seems like he went into a surgery and something went wrong. Like it's gutting. It's awful. Praying for his family. I say at this time, I cannot imagine. And I hope that he rests in peace and knows that he was beloved by baseball fans in multiple cities, helping them win championships, and especially here in Kansas City. So it's Terrance Gore. Rest in peace. On that note, I'm going to end this episode here. I appreciate all of you for listening to this, for consuming all this content. We are back. Thank you for your patience throughout the off season. I got a couple episodes out, but now we're going to get rolling here, and it is time for baseball. And it's been different this year just because it was always like Chiefs, Super Bowl run right into the playoffs this year. Got a nice little runway to just go ahead and just get right into this. So got a lot of stuff coming out of you guys. I'm very excited for you guys to see all that we have coming for you here in 2026 on this podcast. Stick with us, subscribe, review, all of those things. We'll talk next week.